The CEO of Anthropic just said it. Half of all entry-level white-collar jobs will be gone in 1 to 5 years. Cisco cut 4,000. Meta cut 8,000. Amazon completed 30,000 corporate layoffs. Here are the 4 positioning moves before you or a loved one's income disappears that you got to make soon.
AI could wipe out half of all entry-level white-collar jobs within 1 to 5 years. That is not a projection from a think tank or a warning from a critic. That is the CEO of the company that built the AI, making these cuts happen, saying it on the record. Finance, law, consulting, technology. Unemployment among young professionals spiking to 10 to 20%. If that does not sound like your problem, think about what white-collar employment actually is in your city. These workers are the tenants paying above market rent in downtown apartments. They are the lunch crowd, keeping your neighborhood restaurant viable. They are the property tax base funding the school district your street sits inside. They are the first-time homebuyers holding up comparable sales in your zip code. When they disappear from the workforce faster than the economy can absorb them, the effects do not stay inside the office buildings. 5 CEOs confirmed it in the same 3-month window. What if it is the opening move of the fastest white-collar displacement in modern history? And the people who built the technology are now telling you exactly what is coming. Before the next earnings window closes, this is what you need to hear. Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei made that statement to Axios on May 28, 2025. He named the industries: finance, law, consulting, technology. He said unemployment among young professionals could spike to 10 to 20%, and that as producers of this technology, they have a duty to be honest about what is coming, and that he does not think it is on people's radar. On September 17th, 2025, he repeated it on 60 Minutes. On January 20th, 2026, at Davos, he warned that AI's cognitive breadth means it will not disrupt one industry at a time, and could simultaneously affect finance, consulting, law, and technology, leaving workers with fewer options to switch fields. Then, on May 5th, 2026, Amodei stood alongside JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon at Anthropic's financial services briefing in Lower Manhattan and invoked the Jevons paradox, saying AI is moving faster than all previous technologies, and that when you strain a system beyond its usual limits, you can get these weird behaviors. That is not a critic. That is the architect telling you the rebalancing may not arrive fast enough to matter for the workers caught in the transition. 5 CEOs confirmed it simultaneously in the same earnings window. Cisco CEO Chuck Robbins cut 4,000 employees and filed the 8K with the SEC on May 14th. The same quarter, AI orders hit $1.9 billion. The revenue is growing, the headcount is not. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg cut approximately 8,000 employees, roughly 10% of the workforce, tied to $125 to $145 billion in AI capital expenditure. Intuit CEO Sasan Didarzi cut 17% of the company and permanently closed the Reno and Woodland Hills offices. Standard Chartered CEO Bill Winters told investors that AI is replacing, in some cases, lower value human capital. The bank is still cutting 7,800 positions by 2030. TTEC suspended its 401k employer match through the end of 2026 to fund AI integration. That is not a layoff. That is a benefit raid on the employees who remain. AI was confirmed as the #1 cited reason for layoffs in both March and April 2026. Challenger tracked 15,341 cuts in March. In April, 21,490 cuts, 26%. Year-to-date through April, 49,135 job cuts, with AI as the primary driver. Andy Challenger said it directly. Regardless of whether individual jobs are being replaced by AI, the money for those roles is. Here is what this story requires seeing clearly. the 2001 dot-com collapse that shows exactly how fast the floor drops.
Hey everyone, real quick, sorry to step in, but if you want to learn about how to make money when other people are running around screaming and losing money, and you're going to do it in crypto, I've got 2 courses. It's a bundle of courses. One's a Bitcoin XRP 101, teaches all the basics. And even if you've been in crypto for a year or two, trust me, you're going to want to check this out. And the second one is the crypto security course. Learn how developers, how banks, and how fund managers secure their accounts so that they don't get stolen from, or they aren't part of scams like everybody else. Links down below. It's going to save you a lot of time and money. Now let's get back to this video.
The downstream economic chain running from every displaced professional into surrounding rental markets, local businesses, municipal budgets, and investment returns, and what to position before the effects reach your zip code. The 2001 dot-com collapse is the historical mirror. 2008 hit blue collar first. 2001 was a white collar reset. In December 2000, Silicon Valley had 29,400 unemployed workers. By July 2001, 85,600. Total U.S. layoffs hit approximately 1 million by July 2001, compared to 555,000 for the entire 90 to 91 recession. The white-collar unemployment peak did not arrive in 2001. It arrived in 2002 and 2003 because replacement jobs had not materialized, and surviving companies were running leaner permanently. IT unemployment did not return to pre-crash levels until 2005, but the restaurants near the empty office buildings did not wait until 2005 to close. The dry cleaners did not wait. The commercial landlords did not wait. The tech corridor cities absorbed the fiscal damage in budget cycles 2 and 3 years after the layoffs peaked. The workers left, the tax base left with them. White-collar employment is the anchor tenant of the modern urban economy. For every professional job eliminated, 2 to 3 downstream jobs follow. The restaurant owner loses the lunch crowd before the quarterly data confirms the displacement. The childcare provider loses clients before the numbers peak. San Francisco documented a $728 million contraction in tax revenue and vacancy crossing 34% as tech employment fell. Property tax assessments followed on an 18 to 24 month lag. City services followed. The school district budget followed. New York City commercial vacancy has crossed 20% by the same mechanism. These numbers appeared while the national unemployment rate was historically low. The invoice does not go to the displaced worker. It goes to everyone who lived inside the economic radius of the workers who disappeared. 3 additional channels accelerate the impact beyond what the quarterly employment data captures. The H-1B visa cliff compresses the timeline. Displaced H-1B workers must find a new sponsor or leave the country within that window. Part of the workforce exits the local economy entirely within 2 months. The student loan portfolio is the financial system's exposure. Professional degree holders in law and finance carry $100,000 to $200,000 in debt. When repayment rates decline, the default trajectory runs in the same direction as the subprime auto delinquency data already printing. The healthcare system absorbs the third hit. Employer-sponsored insurance plans pay 150 to 250% of Medicare rates. When displaced workers shift to ACA coverage, hospital revenue per patient contracts immediately. When volume shrinks, services and staffing follow. The historical absorption channels for this displacement are narrowing simultaneously in 2026. Government hiring is contracting. Healthcare is automating. The retraining timeline for trade work runs 2 to 4 years minimum. In the gap between displacement and reabsorption, these workers stop buying homes. If you own rental property in a white-collar hub or a business that serves professional clientele, that gap is your exposure window. 4 positions to establish before the downstream effects reach your zip code. The first is building a cash buffer sized to the displacement timeline. A 6-month cash buffer is the minimum operating threshold before the downstream revenue impact begins to correct. The second is auditing your local economic exposure. Pull the vacancy data for your market. If your metro has high concentration in finance or law, the impact is on a timeline. The third is reviewing your portfolio for white-collar concentration. Office REITs and municipal bonds from high-exposure metros carry correlated risk. Audit the exposure before the next earnings window confirms what the challenger data is already printing. The fourth is understanding the 1099 structure as the income path the legislative environment has now made more favorable. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act made the QBI deduction permanent. On $100,000, that deduction removes $20,000 from federal taxable income. Whether you are adding AI-augmented services or restructuring income outside a traditional employer, the path is open and the tax math supports it. The workers in that opening picture are still there right now. The tenant paying above market rent in the downtown apartment. The customer keeping the neighborhood restaurant viable on a Tuesday afternoon. The buyer holding up comparable sales in your zip code. 49,000 AI-driven cuts in 4 months is the beginning of that picture changing. When it does, the apartment sits vacant before the landlord updates the listing. The restaurant loses the lunch crowd before the quarterly revenue confirms it. The comparable sales in your zip code soften before the assessment catches up. You do not have to work in technology to feel where this goes. When the first piece of that picture goes missing in your neighborhood, will you have known it was coming? Economic Ninja is out.